agenda. Can I get a motion to approve it? I can't hear you back here. First up is that better? Yes. Okay, sorry. First up is approval of city council agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
do you want to manipulate the order of things on the back?
Just under staff reports, you mean? Yeah. We are going to move Marcus up to number 1 under staff reports and the administrator down to 2, just so Marcus can depart.
That's your amended agenda.
That's my amendment. Thank you. Anybody else? Kathy?
Where did the 4th of July thing move? Did that move?
It's in city business.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Number 4.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next up is public forum. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and who would like to go first? Is anybody here for the open forum? Anybody? Okay, Isaac. Please state your name and address.
Hi, everybody. Zach Mayhock, 531 Hall Avenue. I sit on the Parks and Natural Resources Committee for Birchwood, and I just wanted to really thank Lori for being here tonight and for all the hard work she's done for the city. She's put in a lot of time and effort for our parks in the community, and I just want to really commend her for her work, and also for Mary Sue. Mary Sue's been doing a ton of coordination with Lori, and so I just wanted to extend from the committee our thanks to both of them for all the work they've done for us.
Thank you, Zach. Yes, good job, Lori. Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? If not, the public forum is closed. Lori, would you like to come up and start your presentation? We're lucky to have Lori here tonight. Lori Tellis, she's from the Washington County Conservation District, and she's been so helpful. Great person to work with, so.
Okay. Hi, guys. Can you hear me? So Washington Conservation District, we're your local soil and water. There's one in every county in the United States. We basically work with natural resource concerns, turning them into opportunities. We're interested in soil health and water quality. We offer free site visits through some funding from the county, and we were invited out by the City Parks Committee. Like about 2 years ago, Mary Sue gave us a call and said, walk Ty Schmidt property with us and let us know if you see any opportunities. And so we went out to this park site right on the south side of White Bear Lake. We walked through the area, and we were just identifying natural resource concerns. There was a lot of flooding going on and different things. So we kind of came up with a plan to address some of the concerns. We had a community forum to gather some input, like insight from the community, what they might like to see. And then we started planning a project. I guess you can move to the next slide, and I'll show some of the issues that we saw. So we started planning and came up with these A through H's of opportunities. Right away, there was a study we came across. It was called the Stormwater Retrofit Study from 2017. And that identified, 5 or 6 top practices that were going to reduce phosphorus loading, so that stuff that causes the green algae in the lakes. That was going to be a measurable outcome. So we decided to take a look at those sites and see if we could get some funding for them. So we pursued some grants to help with the funding, but basically for your guys' reference, Area A is down by Delwood Beach. There's a lot of erosion at that beach, just a little bit, but there's an old BMP there, like a swale that's kind of overgrown and isn't draining right. Area B it's an area to catch a bunch of runoff coming off of that street. Area, C, there's a lot of flooding and soil and sediment that comes down that road and deposits, creating a lot of maintenance. Area D is completely like a little clogged basin carrying a lot of sediment. We've got throughout the whole area low spots, E, F, H, those are all just kind of flooded. We found a broken pipe and different things that could be updated. Drain pipe, trying to get things so that can be more usable for the community. And then at the top, area G, there's a major pipe that goes through there. We might be able to do a project that way. So this was sort of the assessment. Next slide. You can see some of the problem areas that I was talking about. So this has the aerial showing you lots of different flooding areas. And I don't know, I don't need to talk a lot more about it, but like this would be one of the project opportunities. Area C would be where some sediment is loading. And all of that keeping out of White Bear Lake would be really cool. So that's what we were after. We decided to do the Watershed-Based Implementation Funding Grant. That's through the Board of Soil and Water Resources. And we put in a grant to pursue some of these projects. Next slide. So these projects were funded. So we got permission from the committee to go for $70,000 of funding. The Washington Conservation District applied on behalf of Birchwood Village. This would be, there's a 10% match, so that match would be coming from the city for the city engineer's time to review plans. For this grant, we're anticipating the city to be the contractor, so the city would be running the bidding process and managing the construction, and the WCD would provide the designs and the engineer sign-off, working with the city as well. We wanted to do one more community forum so we could get more input from the community. And we also wanted to do another review with the Parks Committee on the final designs before we go to bid and make sure we have something solid for everyone that everyone feels really good about. Then let's see what else. So at this time, I had a few things I wanted to talk to you guys about. So maintenance, maybe just go to the next slide. Let me see if I can show you guys. So this is the master plan that we're thinking of. There are little areas in blue, and that's where the basins would be. And then there's some areas in kind of hatched blue. That's a restoration opportunity where we could do some native seeding and enhancement of the existing forest and wetland. Then we have purple, which would be some pollinator areas that we could integrate to try and address some of the soggy wet areas. There's a low-mow opportunity by the ice rink to just kind of change from grass to maybe something that's better suited but wouldn't really impact the long-term passive use of that recreation area. So lots of opportunities. This was just a big concept along the Delwood easement, maybe doing some kind of stormwater infrastructure there. So these are the concepts. We've got the $70,000 towards this. I wanted to make sure the city was aware of it. They were okay with that 10% match and everything. I think it's already been approved, but I know there's been some changes, so just to remind everyone. And then we also have a HELP grant. So this is called Habitat Enhancement Landscape Pilot Project. It is similar. It's from the Board of Soil and Water Resources. It's a $10,000 grant that the WCD has secured. We got about $250,000, and we're divvying up to each community a little bit of the funds if anyone wants to do a habitat project. So you guys were on the list, and we secured that. And that would just basically be for extra planting throughout. I mean, we could go to the wetlands nearby. That hasn't been settled. We can get some input from the community on that. And then also, we would like to go forward with a Rice Creek Watershed District grant. This would be $500 to $750. And that also would be used for something that comes out of like a community-led event to try and figure out, what kind of amenities we can add in combination with native plantings. They're very interested in water quality for White Bear Lake, so they might want to fund one of the basins. So that would be something where we would not apply on your behalf. That would be something that the Parks Committee, I believe, could apply for, and then the city would sign off on it. And then it's, I guess, just to be aware, all of these are reimbursement grants. So if you got the Rice Creek Watershed District grant, it would be upon completion of the project, you would get your check back. So it is something that we would want to be carefully aware of the timing to make sure that you guys didn't have to carry over funds. So that, just want everyone to be aware of all this. And this is all in a memo, so you can go back and look. And I don't need very many decisions tonight. We just wanted to ask for general support and enthusiasm and update you guys on our progress. Also invite you guys to an outreach event. We're looking at May 31st from 10 to 2 over at the park. It's a Saturday, and we'll just be walking the site and getting people's ideas of what we might be able to do, trying to engage the neighbors to see if anyone is interested or has ideas.
Can you say the date and time again, please?
Sure,
and the
yes, that
location?
would be at the Teichman Park. It would be May 31st, and it's from 10 to 12
Let's
in the
get-
morning.
Let's get that on our city email list a little bit, huh?
Yeah, so I think we're going to be working with the city Parks Committee to get that. I was hoping to do a quick mailer or something too. Thank you. And then I guess the other most important piece was maintenance. So when we had our first community forum, the community said, before anything, we want to know that maintenance is taken care of. So this is part of it. We want to reduce the maintenance, but we also want the city to be, anything we do, to at least have some momentum behind maintenance. And so I asked we have a maintenance crew that does rain gardens, and they go around for the cities and they do a bunch of basic maintenance, weeding, new mulch, unclogging things. And so their estimate was about $500, $250 to $500 per BMP. So that ends up being like the best management practice, or the rain garden or the swale would be around $500 to get someone out there annually, maybe do some new plants, something like that. So it's a $2,500 to maintain. That's kind of, we'll get better estimates once we have the plans in hand, but just to give you guys an idea, if you're willing to think about that and commit to maintenance, I know that was important to the community. There was also a lot of community members that came forward to say they'd be interested in helping. So we had the Lakes Link group and some different groups step up and say they're excited about this project. They'd like to do some maintenance. So I think we have volunteer events, different things that you might be able to offset the cost. But I just wanted to throw that out there so you guys can think about it. So I don't know. There might be one more slide for you guys. Okay, so some pictures, because that's always fun. We have basically native habitat enhancement. The goal of this project is you take an area that is, flooded and soggy and full of weeds or turf, and it's just not working, and we can do a seed mix that will kind of work with that water, and the maintenance might be as simple as mowing. Also, the shoreline, we could do a seed mix to kind of stabilize areas along the shore, keeping access points. There's opportunities for filtration, pre-treatment systems where you pop in kind of a filter and then you just have to lift and dump. So that kind of system might be better than or a better fit in a tight spot. So we'll look at that. And then I think the coolest part is just trying to, while we're doing this, bring in some amenities for the public. So some sitting areas, maybe a picnic table or two, but just really try and focus on the dual benefits of making this really fun for the community, a kind of a better asset, but also it's better for the lake. And then, so we have on our timeline, I'm hoping we can hit, I don't know, maybe August for a Rice Creek Watershed District application. If we were really on it, May, but they don't meet in July. So there's kind of a gap. But if we have general flexibility to apply, that would be great. So it's mostly knowing that these need to be maintained, and they do need to be floated for the cost reimbursement. Okay. And you'll all see the plans and designs before we move forward. So any other questions? Can I help with? It was a lot, so.
I think this plan the layout, is awesome. You did a really great job.
Oh, thanks.
Because it leaves that open space that people really wanted, and yet it can control all that drainage, the drainage problems we have.
Yep, on the edge, we're kind of just trying to maybe add even a drain tile in there, get the water away from the fields, because they said soccer's important, you're getting some revenue for soccer, and people love the ice rink, so, those programming things may change over time, but just having that open space sounds like people are excited about that.
Well, I will move to offer our support and encouragement to the Parks Committee and to you, Lori Tella, and
you.
to offer our general support and thanks for the project going forward.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
I don't know what we're
Opposed?
seconding.
So I just
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah, I just want to turn over to my cohorts here. So Mary's who's been doing a bunch, and Marcus is on there. Do you guys need anything else from the council to feel like you can move forward with the grants processes? Yeah. Grant.
Is there a match required?
It's the reimbursement one.
Yeah, so
this-
the
There's no
match-
match?
The fun thing about this is there is a match, so it's 50% typically, but the match can be these state grants.
So if there's a match, if there's no match and no requirement on the city, what do you think, Ellen? Then there's probably nothing needed. If we're not binding to the city to anything.
The binding,
To come back if a commitment of public funds were
yes.
to be asked.
Yeah,
Yep, and it would just be knowing that I think if you do get these grants, it's a 10-year commitment type of thing, so don't just go rip it up right after you do it. So just being aware that we're hoping for a long-term project. We'll be back in touch with, before any money stuff has to, and handshakes.
And something we do need to keep in mind is that the grants that we have already received, the maintenance is a reporting on that maintenance for 10 years is a requirement for that. So just to have that in the budget and prepare for it is good.
Okay.
So for me, I can go to my board now, so Washington Conservation District encumbers the funds, so we take the 10,000 and hold it for you guys. And so I'll just have that in the next round of minutes for our board, which is
Lori,
in a month.
do we have an estimate on when all of this work will be done?
So 2026 is when we need to have it done by, so the end of fiscal year, well, December 2026, maybe November is when I'd like to have it all wrapped up so we can do our reporting. So that gives us a year to, I'm hoping we'll start fall with something, and then move forward from there. But sometimes these projects can take multiple phases for like the noxious weed treatment, or you might start a piece and finish the planting in the spring. So we'll be working with the construction timeline with Marcus, so.
So if we were to miss the end of 2026, then do we lose the funding?
There are extensions, it just is not ideal, so we will try and do our best to spend it before the end of that. But it gives us some nice, we have some time.
Great, thank you.
But I think I'm gonna step down next.
Thank you, Lori. Next up is our Lake Links Fund presentation.
Good evening, I'm Mary Cahill,
And I'm Jessie Granick.
and we're here to talk about Birchwood's portion of the Lake Links Trail. Just a little background, this is, the Lake Links Committee was actually a citizen-led nonprofit organization that began in 2001. And they didn't get momentum and get started with actual construction to 2017. But the whole goal of the Lake Links Trail is to connect all of our communities across and around White Bear Lake. And so it's a shared use path that goes around the lake designed to help safe walking and biking for everyone who wants to use the trail. Now, we are a key segment of that because we're part of, obviously on White Bear Lake. And so we did establish and have signs in a route that was established back, I'm not even sure, quite a while ago. But we were made aware that there's grant money available for Birchwood that was unused by Montemedi. So we wanted to use those funds to make and enhance the trail that we have currently in Birchwood. So our task force committee consists of, and it started in 2024, myself, Jessica, Ben Cray, Karen Freeberg, who's here today, Brian McGinnis, Ellen Maas Pratt, Mike Werner, and Janet Burnett, who's also here today. Cora Hankins is our Roads Committee Task Force representative, and Bridget Sperl is our committee council liaison. So one of the things that we wanted to let you know is we did hold a public forum last November seeking input from our residents to see and look at the existing route we had. We came up with a lot of different options for routes, but after that meeting and based on our task force representatives, we decided that our existing route was what we wanted to keep with. So Jesse, if you want to.
So the existing route as it is, as it comes in from Monmouth,
I think he was going to zoom in on that. Chris, can you zoom in on that? Okay.
Well, we can just move it closer to the camera, I guess, but.
Yeah.
coming in from Monmouth, you know, bikers and walkers, or pedestrians come to J Street, and this is where the suggested route is that the bikers continue down Hall to Cedar and do the little jog down and then out Wildwood, to East County Line Road. Walkers, pedestrians come in and they jog down J Street, down Lake and around by Ty Schmidt Park, come up and then meet up with the bikers and out Wildwood that way. Obviously, we can't tell anybody that they can't go either way, but that is our suggested route based on safety and roads.
Okay. And the amount of money that has been made available is $70,000. Based on the cost estimates and all the research we've done, we don't even think we're going to hit $35,000. So we've also worked with the Parks Committee to see if there is something else that we could do to enhance, use some of those funds. So the first thing, what we are recommending for the use of those funds is to repaint the crosswalks, to add additional signage, and that signage would be a share of the road sign like you see in Montemita. You also see them along White Bear, but these would be the ones would have the symbol of an automobile, a pedestrian, and a biker, and then it says share the road in the middle. So that makes it more obvious that this is, a trail that's for multiple uses. Some traffic mirrors, and those specifically would be located around Hull and J, where it's a very blind corner there to help, because I know if I'm walking, I don't even like walking on the left side there, just to help so that you're more visible. The cars can see that there's people using that. And also on Wildwood and Cedar, because that's kind of a congested area there too. Also to use sharrows and stencils. So the sharrows, if you're not familiar with those are those embedded bike symbols like they have in Montemita that we would put along the bike path, and then on the a stencil where we would have the jaunt that goes down to the walking path. So there's a clear delineation of where you would go, depending if you're walking or riding your bike. And then also we were going to purchase 2 electronic speed signs. Those would be located, it's actually on the map.
We have them marked. One is here on Hall, 600 Hall, and 170 Wildwood.
170.
Yes.
Oh, in front of my house.
Yeah. And that was actually based on some recommendations from the Road Safety Committee as well.
Jasper.
On where those would be located. And we have some studies that was done by the University of Minnesota, and it's been proven to be very useful to have those because people see that flashing how fast they're going, and do, not everyone of course, but most people will see that and slow down. And that's our objective, because obviously, we've all switched to 20 miles an hour so they can realize how fast that they're going. And also we were looking at 4 benches. We're working with the Parks Committee to determine where those locations should be, but we were thinking 2 on Ty Schmidt Park along the path, and then 2 in Wildwood Park.
on Wildwood.
So that, people walking, probably not so much for bikers, but, hey, if they want a snack, but more so for walkers, that they'd have a place to rest when they're walking through. And then we also have in our cost estimate some vegetation removal equipment This would be to more heavy-duty brush removal, because there's a lot of brush growing up on the roads in some areas and onto the roads, and this would help just clear that off. Make it so that it's more safe again for, that was our primary objective, is safetiness of the people using it. So what we would need from the council is to create a resolution to support the project. And this is a little bit different than the last proposal. The money is there. It's already in Minnesota management and budget. So it's not like we have to worry about the funds will be gone. They're there. They're available for us to use. But we do have to apply for the grant. And once we get the appropriate documentation together, we can be reimbursed for the costs that we expend within 30 days of that expenditure. But you would have to have within this resolution that you will support the project and that you'll pay those upfront costs for reimbursement. And we've been working with so it's Minnesota Management and Budget who will actually be giving us the money that we submit the expenses to, but it's actually Met Council that we've been working with who will help us along the process of doing that grant application. So they've already done it for numerous other cities, so they're familiar with the process of verbiage that needs to be used, et cetera. So what we'll do is we'll work with the administration here to get those, they've got a couple of different documents that they expect to be completed. They'll review it prior to going to Minnesota Management and Budget. If they see anything that they would think that needs to be tweaked a little bit, they'll give us advice, we'll do that. Then it gets submitted to Minnesota Management and Budget, and then it's just a matter of, go on with it. So what we'd also need support from you is to commit to ongoing maintenance of the trail, meaning that, if a sign gets mowed over or plowed over or whatever, that we would fix that, mirrors, et cetera. We have a question and we're not sure of, the duration. Like I noticed that they were saying 10-year commitment. We're not sure of the commitment of that, but we do have a question in. And then just to support that grant application process. And so really what we're looking at today is just preliminary information. We want to get any questions that you have so that we can be prepared to get those answers to you. Our goal is that we can get all your questions answered. We have all the information, so by the June council meeting that we can start the ball rolling. And that in July, hopefully we can get started. We really think that based on what we're looking to have done here, that there's no reason why we couldn't finish by the end of this year. Like I said, we're hoping to get that approval of that resolution by the next meeting, get it written and get that approval. So is there any questions that we can help?
I have questions.
Yes.
So thank you. That wasn't a question, but, so first of all, do we expect maintenance of the trail to be pretty minimal?
Yes.
I know we're really sensitive to that sort of ongoing cost right now. We would expect it to be just kind of what we're doing on the roads plus a sign here and there. Okay.
Yes.
Then, and this is kind of a question for maybe Marcus. It sounds like to me this project is significantly under the proposed budget right now. Do you want to go over, and because I guess as a general question, I think you guys did a great job. Would it be worth just having a professional services firm come in and just say, hey, you might want to round this corner or tweak this a little bit with some of the grant money there and add in a little bit of money just to get a little bit of, I'm not saying you guys are unprofessional, but specialized
We're not
professional
engineers, that's for
advice,
sure,
right?
yeah.
That
Yep.
seems like it might be valuable to do,
Yep, and I think
to
Karen
pad things
actually
out a little
did
bit.
talk to,
Yeah.
so go
Yep.
ahead.
Yeah, they've been reaching out periodically
Yep.
to get feedback and stuff already. But
Okay.
yeah, before we proceed, it'd be good to just get one
I
last
would-
review.
I would like to
and
see
stuff.
some of that in the grant application. Then the final thing I have is this no doubt impacts our road plan in some way. And we will probably expend some funds to update the road plan relating to this project, will we not?
Yes, that is something that, especially if we approve the Cheryl's going in, that would need to be included. So when I had discussions with the property, not manager, but Public Works manager from Montemedi, because we're doing very similar things to what they're doing. He recommended, and that's one thing we're getting in our cost estimate, is the actual stencil for those Cheryls. So
Okay.
that would help with the cost, but obviously, when we're redoing the roads, that's additional costs that'll have to be factored in.
And so I was just gonna ask, I appreciate all that, I was just gonna ask if we can include those costs of all that stuff and updating our road plan to accommodate this project in the grant as well, just to make sure we throw as much in there as we can. Is that just, that's all I'm asking is squeeze, does that?
So I guess I want to be clear, because we have to, it's very similar to this other project, we have to be done by 2026.
Okay.
So if you
Just
don't start
not
on the road,
necessarily the road construction, but the road planning, which we're doing right now, and I think would
Okay.
probably easily be done, right? We may replan, but Marcus, is that something where we could, this is gonna have to be included, and we can make sure we get your hours?
Yeah, it'd be,
Squeeze your
decently easy
paycheck out of
change.
the state instead of out
Yeah.
of ourselves. So,
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what I got, other than, like, can we just like stencil that? But,
yeah, I understand what you're
I'm sure you
saying,
guys
yes.
have
And we
questions.
do have money for that. So
Yep,
that's a
yep.
very good point, and we can get that included. And I know that other cities did include the planning phase with their engineer and everything, because, you know, if you've looked at South Shore Boulevard, that obviously took a lot of planning and engineering. So yes, that can be included in the grant money.
I have questions, do you guys? Okay.
please.
For the electronic signs that you mentioned, is there any infrastructure we need to add for electrical line, et cetera, that hooks up to, or is that solar?
It would be solar, and that was one of the things that we were looking at, is the location, to make sure that there was some
Sunny enough?
sun. Yes, I mean, you know, all the Birchwood was pretty shaded, but we were hoping that that would be good. And that was one thing when we talked to, and that was another thing that we got recommended from Montemedi, because they have some. So they gave us contacts for this, it's called Traffic Calm, and they actually had the contract with 3M, and so they will help us make sure, they'll do a site visit to install and make sure that it would work successfully where we're gonna place it.
Okay. If we have any funds left, is it possible to use that to do pothole repair along that path while we wait for the roads to be done in those areas?
It certainly can.
Yeah, I don't-
Ask them, because I've already got some questions out to them that I'm waiting for an answer, because the lady who's doing it is on maternity leave. Her manager is covering, but she just went on maternity leave. So we anticipate having questions, so we certainly can ask that.
I think that might be a good use of any extra funds, just to, whilst we're waiting for the various
Right,
roads
because
to be
obviously
done.
potholes are a danger.
Yes,
Right.
or walkers
for
or bikers.
walkers or bikers, yes.
And we should just probably make sure we thank Margaret too, because I know she was kind of got this rolling too.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've been in contact with Margaret.
I'm
She's
just-
given us some recommendations and contacts too, yep.
Yeah.
Would it be possible to include restriping along that Cedar Hall? Well, I guess it would just be Hall down to Cedar. So what side are we having people walk on or bike on?
It should be
Well, it
normal
should be
left
with
walk.
traffic.
Yep,
Is biking against
okay.
traffic would be walking.
yep.
Would it be possible to repaint that white stripe with some of that money? Because
If
that
it's
is,
part of the trail, we certainly can ask.
yeah,
Yep.
because I know those
As
are
long-
fading
I mean, I
too.
think that's the key. It's got to be part of the trail.
Right.
We can't expect to do, you know,
Right.
Birchwood Avenue or something, but yes, I would think so.
Okay. Does anybody else have a question?
This group has been working on this a
I know.
long time and has been doing really, really good work, so thank you.
Yes, thanks for all your hours you've put in. This is awesome.
Yeah, we've got a good committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm a big fan of everyone coming up and talking about grants. This
I
has
know,
never
yes,
happened.
but it is so much work. Well, thank
It's
you
like
so
hearing from the
much.
assessor, except.
Reverse, this is wonderful.
I have a point of order. Question by a resident.
For the,
This that's up.
For the Lake Links Trail? For the Lake Links Trail
Did I
Committee?
understand that there would be flashing lights?
No?
We're talking about the speed, so that, when you have a traffic, if you're going by it and there's a speed, it'll tell you your speed you're going.
Where is that? Is that flashing? Does it flash? Where is that to be?
Those were the two locations we have highlighted on the map.
600 Hall, yeah.
Wildwood and 600 Hall.
Not by your house.
Well, and that was one thing we were trying to, well, do I need to go by the mic again?
Oh,
yes, please.
Yeah.
That was the one thing we were trying to be very cognizant of, is trying to avoid impact to neighbors and having lights or mirrors, and that's why we're gonna work closely with our engineer and make sure that there's minimal impact to the residents in terms of lights or, I mean, the speed, I wouldn't think it'd be too obvious, but we'll have to check, I'm not sure.
So I just did a quick Google search, because in my head I saw one of those big ones that you saw that the cops put out. But I see it's the size of a normal sign, a normal speed sign that just
Yes,
with just normal LED lights displays the speed.
yeah, that's what we're looking at.
Not one of those giant ones
No.
that the cops put out.
No, it's similar to, how Birchwood, when we were having, I'm not sure everybody is aware, but for a while there, we had Washington County put up some of those portable ones so you could see how fast people were going. Those are what we're talking about, similar to that.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Can I just ask one question? When you come from Monterey and the road is wide, you've got the trail, are you gonna go on the opposite side and widen that turns?
We're not widening the roads. The only things there's no change in the roads. What we're only trying to do is, if there's debris or brush along those roads, help clear some of that off, so it's a little bit safer for people driving, but
It's a lot narrower on our side.
yes, it is. Yes, but,
And traffic comes through and somehow.
yeah, unfortunately, we didn't have enough funds to create a separate trail or path, so we will be using our existing
Just even
roads.
for that area, it was almost dangerous.
We should use the word route instead of trail. The route, there's just a route through Birchwood, so it's what's existing here. So pedestrians walk against traffic, bikers go with traffic, and you use the road. So it's just a route. Nothing changes with the road or the sign, or the striping or anything.
The area I'm talking about is when you come up on Monterey guys. It's nice and wide, it's safe. When you switch it to Birchwood, it's like a little narrow and the traffic goes through there fast.
Yeah.
I don't care if you got the stop signs. That is the only area that I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but one of the things we got from resident feedback was we do not want our roads wider. There was thing well, when we had our public forum and our committee, that was, the big consensus is they don't want wider roads at that time.
I'm not talking about the roads, wider than one. That's all I'm talking
Oh.
about, not widening the road. Making that walking.
So you're saying that the lines that are there, moving that over?
Yeah, to create a bigger shoulder, like, yeah.
It's certainly something we can talk to the engineer about.
No, we know what you're talking about, and,
Something just
yeah.
Yeah, certainly something we can talk to our engineer about and see if that, yeah. I mean, we don't have any objection to it. We just don't want, we're not widening the road, yes.
And if we did consider that, we need to look at the property owners, which I'm one of those that are right there, and the impact to the property owners if we were to change. I think the road configuration, even if you're not changing the width of the road, but how putting, changing that width would impact property owners there too.
Restriping
I
it?
don't know if you heard that, Jane, but she wasn't suggesting changing the road dimensions, just the lines.
Right, I agree.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure.
I just want to mention, we did a lot of measuring on those roads,
Okay, thank you. Oh, another one?
Yeah, I wonder, what about resurfacing Hall? I know I should probably know, but looked at all the information, but you know, that road has a lot of pothole areas that have been repaired, so it's not really a great surface right now. The city needs to refurbish it.
That is more than $70,000 will take care of.
Yeah.
So that's not part of
Not
what
part of what you're
we're
doing.
doing. We're just trying to make the whole route safer and more visible and usable for what we have going on with, for what we have. And then the city's got a road plan that will eventually address that.
Thank you. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Well, our next presentation is going to come from Chief Greg Peterson. Chief Peterson, welcome. We're happy to have you this evening.
Are we done with this sign? Can I take it down? I can't see people.
Oh, I think so.
Want that out of the way? All right, Madam Mayor, members of council, thank you for having me. I just wanted to provide a quick update, kind of look at what happened in 2024 and what we're planning to do in 2025. So for those of you that may or may not know what White Bear Lake services, we provide services City White Bear Lake to Birchwood, Delwood, Gem Lake, and the township. So we cover about 35 square miles, which is a big service area, some of it being populated, some of it being less populated, and over 38,000 people, plus all the visitors and so on that come to our area. So it's a pretty significant role that we play within the community. Currently, we have 18 full-time firefighter paramedics. So that's line staff, the people that work regular shifts. They work 24-hour shifts. And we have one full-time firefighter EMT that we just added this year. So we have 19 people that are ready to respond. And again, they're divided up into 3 different shifts. So, and then additionally, we have 12 part-time staff, which kind of comes from, the department is 137 years old now. And so, you know, it's been through a lot of different iterations along those 100+ years. And so we went from what was really a volunteer department to now a paid department. Most people work shifts and so on. So that is what our staffing is currently at. Our call volume for last year was 4,784 calls. So we're a busy department. We go on a lot of calls. Most of what we do is ambulance calls. So we run a full paramedic advanced life support ambulance service that provides both. So we do fire, rescue, and ambulance services for all of those areas. And that is the majority of what we do. So 78% of our call volume is operating the ambulance. And we do a good job at that. The rest of it is fire and rescue calls. So people always ask us, you know, what do you do? Well, we do a lot of ambulance calls. So that is that. As far as our top 5 calls for ambulances, there are sick people is the largest category, breathing problems, psychiatric problems, falls, and unconscious. And that is consistent year after year after year. That really doesn't change. And that is the type of call by how we get sent to the call. So that's how we're dispatched. I just wanted to share a quote from somebody that we got. I get a lot of thank yous, which is always good because we see a lot of things that are difficult to deal with and don't always have the best outcomes when we deal with what we deal with. But this gentleman said, if it weren't for them today, I wouldn't be here today. So it was pretty neat when you get feedback like that from people. So we're pretty happy about it. One thing I wanted to make everybody aware of is 64% of our patients are over the age of 60. So that is the majority of the population that we're serving in this area. And in Minnesota in general, the age of 65 and older is expected to double from last year until 2075. And so we anticipate our call volume and the resources that are needed to continue to grow as we go on through the years. And another thing of note is that that elderly population is also most likely to be involved in fire deaths, which is what we've experienced in our response area. So I've been in the fire service for 37 years. This is my 8th year as the fire chief in White Bear Lake. And since I've been here, we've had 3 fire-related deaths in that time frame, and all of them were elderly patients, and at least 2, if not 3, were all 2 of the 3 were involved with also with smoking. And so those are common factors across the state as far as the risks for people that may be exposed to any fire type of death. Couple of programs that we're working on this year. So our paramedics are trained at a very high level from Regents EMS. We do a lot of very advanced skills. And one of the things that Regents has asked us to do is to start a new program. So this is the first program that we're aware of in the state to do this. And what we're doing is going to trial IV acetaminophen, so Tylenol basically, but acetaminophen is the generic name. And now this isn't like have a couple of Tylenol at home, couple of pills. That's usually about 250 to 500 milligrams. The vial that we're going to give is 1,000 milligrams, so it's a significant dose to people. And the whole premise behind this, they're doing this a lot in the hospital currently, in replacement of narcotics, because there's such an opioid. There's a lot of people that haven't had opiates before, and then they get addicted because they go in for, they broke their leg, they broke their arm, whatever happened. And so this allows us to give a pain control medicine that will hopefully help to curb that. So that is something we just started, and we already gave one of the doses. We do a lot of community events. I know every year we come out here for National Night Out. And that is always fun for us. If there are other events you'd like us to come to, please let us know. But overall, there were 56 planned events that we went to last year. And then a lot of just kind of drop-ins and, hey, can you stop by here? And, hey, can you do that? So we do it, a lot of them. We have a lot of fun with all of them, whether it be elderly adults or little kids or anybody in between. And then every week at Market Fest, we're out there for that, and so you can come visit us there also. Another thing that we started just recently is what we call the Vial of Life program. So it's a red vinyl pouch. It's about this big. And inside that, we have a sheet of paper that we have things listed out for all the pertinent information that we need to know when we get to medical calls. And so I've been myself a paramedic for a long time, and I can tell you I've been on multiple calls where we get there and we have no idea what's going on. The patient isn't making any sense. We don't know if that's normal for them or that's abnormal for them, and we don't know who to contact. And I remember being at one where I just started looking around, and we didn't know, nobody else was there, and I just started looking at the fridge, and there were a bunch of stuff posted on the fridge, and there were some people's phone numbers, and I just got my personal cell phone out and started calling people until I got a hold of somebody that happened to be a relative of theirs and said, hey, we're here, and this is what's going on. Is there somebody around? When their significant other had quick left to go to the grocery store to grab something and come back, and in the meantime, somehow 911 got called. So we were able to figure that out. So these are available. The Lions Club recently gave us a donation to buy 2,300 of these, and our plan is to get them all to our assisted living facilities, and then we'll also have a stash at our administration for people to pick up if they're interested. And so it's a very useful tool. I gave this presentation to our council a few weeks ago, about a month and a half ago, I guess. And within a week, somebody that got one from the council member, we had the same situation where we got to the call, it wasn't really sure what was going on. They saw the pouch. We tell everybody to put it on their fridge because everybody has a fridge. Now I know the new stainless steel ones, they might not stick real good. We're aware, but at least in the area of the fridge. And so we looked for that, and the crew did exactly that. Again, they were a little confused. It didn't seem quite normal. So they went to the sleeve. They had already filled it out and found out this lady had a seizure history. And they went, okay, there you go. That's what's going on here. So it wasn't an obvious seizure. Some seizures are very mild in nature. And so that's what it was. We also are currently running a Citizens Fire Academy, so if any of you are interested in that, or anybody in the audience, we're just about to wrap it up, but we'll do it again next spring, where people can come in and learn all about what we do. You get to use the jaws of life, you get to spray some water, you get to put some fire out, you get to do a lot of cool stuff. And so if people are interested in that, please keep a look on our website for that. We do a lot of ride-alongs for people, Regents doctors, physician's assistants, Century College students. We get tons of Century College students come ride with us, so that's always good. And then also citizens can come ride us too. We do a ton of training, CPR classes, community emergency response training, advanced cardiac life support. The list goes on and on. I won't bore you with all of it. One of the things I wanted to point out to everybody though this year is the amount of brush fires we've had this spring is amazing. And in this area, you wouldn't think there's a whole lot to burn, but the problem is there's a lot of woods and stuff around here and a lot of leaves, and it's greening up real nice now. But when we go from that phase from wintertime to everything is dry to now when it's greening up, they travel extremely fast. And we went into helped out. All of the neighbors around here help each other out when there's fires. And we went into Maplewood multiple times. You wouldn't think that Maplewood would have any significant fires, but get a plot of land that's a big grassy field, and now it's tucked in between houses and next to a business, and now we're like, holy cow, we need to stop this. And we're talking 3 to 5 foot flame lengths, and they're moving rapidly across a big area. So we've had that. I don't know if you saw on the news, we helped out Shoreview where, they had 30 to 50 foot flame lengths because part of the flames had gotten into some pine trees that were very dry. And so that is a concern of ours. We are prepared for it, but we're going to rely on our neighbors a lot to help us out. And so it takes a lot of resources to put them out. So that is kind of something new and unusual, despite all the normal stuff that we do. So I'll stand for any questions anybody might have.
Any questions?
Well, that was easy.
No? That was a great presentation.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. I learned a lot.
All
So
right.
thank you for coming in.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bridget, did you have a presentation you'd like to make?
Well, I don't really have a presentation, but what we all decided at the very first council meeting is that we would start to gather key metrics. And what we talked about last time is, even though we don't have all of the key metrics in place, let's just start. And so I submitted the report that we do in fact have into the package. And it's more to reassure the community that yes, we take that seriously. We will continue to work on it and work with the administrator to figure out how we start to populate this so that we can see a different view of Birchwood.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything anybody would like pulled out?
I'd like to pull out the treasurer's report, please.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't think it hurts to do it again, but didn't we already do NYFS? Then we can do it again, I guess, doesn't hurt.
You want to pull it out, or you just want
I
to
don't
leave it
care.
in?
I don't think it hurts. I mean, we should do it the same way both times, I guess.
Okay. Well, that doesn't leave much of a
Let's just
consent
forget
agenda.
Let's just forget I
Thank
said
you so
anything.
much.
Well, you should.
All right. Can I get a motion then to approve the consent agenda after removing number 2, the treasurer's report, and number 3?
Don't pull out number 3, just approve it again. I'll move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 2.
Second.
Sorry. I'm making things difficult.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. So just the treasurer's report, huh? Okay, on to staff reports. Marcus?
Mayor, Council. So I only have a couple items tonight. Just an update from the Wildwood Lift Station. We have a couple services to relocate. We're currently working with Excel. With Excel to do that. And then as of right now, we're still on schedule to start at the start of June. So I haven't heard any set dates yet, but any day. I know last time I talked with them last week, they still hadn't got the pumps in yet, but they hadn't heard of any reason why they wouldn't be in. So that's kind of just the reason why we don't have an official start date and stuff to continue with. So otherwise, yeah, we're up to date on the EPA. The semi-annual report was sent in on 4/29, and there is a webinar coming up as well. So, yeah. Any questions on the lift station update?
What is the webinar for?
Just an update of just making sure the city's aware of the requirements, and they had the same thing last year as well.
For the EPA grant portion? Oh,
Yep,
okay.
yep,
Have you gotten Scott up to speed on all the EPA requirements?
yep, working on it.
I'm registered.
Yep.
Marcus, this is a really probably dumb question, but will citizens see any difference in their experience with the new lift station?
It should be a lot less visible. Like the one right now, it sits up about, it's like a foot, I want to say. This one should be relatively flat. It will be a larger structure. The access port is actually meeting standards now and not a small structure, so it's safer and stuff like that. So you'll notice that kind of stuff. But usually the things that residents notice the most is things like generators, which we're not changing, and then things of that nature. Everything that we're doing is pretty much underground.
Okay, thanks.
What should we expect for traffic closures?
Good question. So it would be the it would be the side that the lift station's on. I'm drawing a blank on my.
Would you like the map?
That's
Yeah.
fine. It would be on the south side there then. South.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
The
Yep.
lakeside?
Okay.
And then their goal is to keep that north side open still.
Okay, and so people, there'll be, I mean, there's a decent way around there, but people, that's something.
The ones that
clear
are going to be
people.
directly affected. As soon as we hear a official start time, we're going to start knocking on doors, letting everyone know, and whatnot. Here, upcoming as soon as Excel gets going, we're going to be already out there and doing the same thing. Excel will be pretty minimal with their adjustments, and at most it would be a temporary shutdown for an hour or two to get them across, but with their new services. But otherwise, yeah, it would just be a temporary shutdown of one lane is what they're thinking, and then yeah.
How long is the project? Can you tell everybody?
Yeah, they're conservatively it would be about a month. It's kind of weather dependent. You know, June could be a pretty wet month, but even with, I mean, knock on wood, with rain delays, it'd be a month.
So that one lane will be continuously shut down for a month, correct? Okay.
Yep. They'll need the space to have the equipment. We're going pretty deep, and so there'll be pretty large equipment in there, and it'll be pretty tight.
So from a communication standpoint, I'm not sure how this relates to when the community letter goes out, but it would be good to put a blurb in there about this. And then I'm wondering, can you put together a one-sheet sort of overview that we could post on the bulletin board and in Facebook and on the website that just explains time frame and what's happening and what people can expect?
Yep, I can definitely do that. And then even during the process, I'll have like weekly updates
great.
that we can also post and just kind of keep everyone in the loop of what happened this past week, what to expect for the future,
Perfect.
and stuff like that.
Could you also give Scott the information for the people who will be going around knocking on doors from Excel, et cetera, just so people know that that is a legitimate thing going on?
Yeah, it'll be a Bolton Ming staff, but yeah, I'll give that to Scott. Yep.
We don't like solicitors here.
I guess
Permit?
Yeah.
Excel might go to the doors to make sure that their gas is hooked up, but otherwise, yeah.
Okay.
Wear an Eco Shield shirt.
All right, any other questions for Marcus on this topic? All right. 425 lake variance?
I just wrote up a memo of for the city council, just kind of laying out. There's been a lot of questions in retaining walls and you know, should it be in cone impervious, should it not? So I just kind of laid that out of my opinion and what I've seen across the industry so far.
But just to be clear, Marcus, on your memo, your opinion specifically is that retaining walls under Birchwood City Code are not treated as impervious surface, and in your professional opinion as an engineer, that's the case.
Correct.
Is that
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, the
No
tone of
worries.
that was a little off. I just want to make sure that that's.
Nope,
that
you
we're
said-
stating that explicitly, that in your opinion,
Yep.
retaining walls are not treated as impervious under the city code.
Yep, retaining walls they're meant for a grading asset. They're not meant for.
But they, and don't, I'm going to be a little bit tedious here, but
Yeah.
they explicitly do not meet the definition of impervious surface under Birchwood's code.
Correct.
In your opinion. Thank you.
Correct. Yep. Any other questions? Or we can move on to the next, which is this year's project. So I just wanted, before we continue going, we're looking at mill and overlay for the remaining of that cul-de-sac on Oak Ridge Drive and Oakview Court. Looking at approximately $105,000. Now, that being said, prices this year have been extremely low, so I would be shocked if we're not significantly lower than that. So as long as
Wonderful.
Wait, I don't think I've ever heard that before.
yeah, it's been quite a few years, but
Is there a specific reason why, or what do you?
people are
guys-
just very hungry for work. So people want to beef up their workload. So in addition to this, like last year, we also included in this package of the citywide potholing. The change I want to make this year is I'm writing a contract, or it's pretty much written, specifying like dates, and unless if the city has other opinions, I'm thinking the day that we award the low quote, they have 30 days to get the potholing done, and then as a completion date, and then the remainder of the project, which I guess I've never touched on, would be up until August or October 15th.
Continuous, not showing up every once in a while.
Correct. Yep. As so when they start, they're done. So in summary of what I'm proposing is, the road is flatter than standards should allow in some areas where we're seeing drainage issues. So I'm proposing a temporary ditching until we come through and fully reconstruct or decide in the future of what this street looks like. On the plan, you'll see highlighted approximate areas. So as long as the council's fine with doing this, I'll get those staked out. It will take a little bit of working with utility companies to make sure, one, we're not exposing any of their wires and that we're safe. And then in the contract, I'm going to have that they expose the utilities where we're ditching to make sure we're getting good coverage, so we're not exposing someone to freezing pipes or shallow anything. So, go ahead.
No, please finish.
So yeah, as long as the council's fine with this, I'm going to wrap this up, go signature on it, and then if we'd like to bring it back just with the signed plan and spec, I'm okay with that. Otherwise, I'll send it to Alan to review and see if he has any feedbacks or changes, and then we would send that out for quotes, most likely for 3 weeks to let them review, and then in that process, I'll start working with utility companies, and then hopefully by June we'd have some numbers to see.
And so, last year we discussed, we had the ditch issue and the drainage issue. This year we said we would like to have contractors carry insurance that names the city, or
Yep.
something like that. Is that something that's?
So that'd be part of it.
Okay.
And then there'd also be a warranty period this year too as well. That is also in the contract.
Seems like we either got a plan to pay for it or else they got a plan to pay for it. So,
Right.
because it seems to me like the general way to treat these isn't so much extensive surveys as after the fact repairs generally, right? Is
Correct.
that- Yeah, so.
I just have one question. So this 105,000, that's for mill and overlay, the temporary ditching, and also the filling the potholes?
And the
doing
whole
crack
city.
seal?
Yep. Short of the ones that have already been done
Okay.
for the water main breaks and stuff. Yep. And when they come out, then you'll see me spray paint the road white again. So. And also, if I miss any, please let me know, because there's a lot of street to cover.
Mhm. Any other questions for Marcus?
Thank you.
Thanks for all your work,
Thank you.
Marcus.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Alan,
back
do we
to-
do the pullouts now from the consent agenda? We had 2 pullouts.
Did you get through Scott?
We just had one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can with,
I think Scott's next, isn't he?
Scott,
sorry. Oh, yeah.
What's up?
Scott, I forgot about you.
do you want me to stand?
Oh, please,
He's just
yes.
testing us.
Yeah. Yeah, are you still, are you still with us there, Alan? Sorry.
I made it to my first meeting. So, first off, I just wanted to provide that brief introduction. I've had the chance to speak with several of the council members at different times, some more at length than others, but again, just in the short period of time, it's been a good experience. You know, the city of Birchwood is not unique. Unfortunately, a lot of smaller communities have had similar issues the last few years. Staff turnover, council turnover, people move. Long-term residents with a lot of knowledge, institutional knowledge, have moved. So I just want you to feel, you know, it's impressive when you have a new mayor that is researching how to start a city, and you can have an open discussion about same things other communities are going through. I think I've been doing this a long time, so I've got a little more comfort level than a lot of administrators. But again, I realize that I'm also here to work for you. I'm here to work for the council. You're just trusting me to steer the ship. I can make my recommendations, but ultimately, you know, what I love is you have a community that is built on volunteers that have similar values. You're here because you love the place. You're here to serve and hopefully make things better. So again, my goal is a little bit different than maybe you've had in the past. I try to be a little more assertive and hopefully make your life more enjoyable as a council member so that you're not drafting ordinances and resolutions and things like that. I try and draft memos, so if you want to discuss something, you know, I've got a form that Councilman Hankins provided to me, but something similar we could use that says, hey, let's discuss this. And then I do the research. Here's the pros, here's the cons. I like resolutions that are all in the same format, you know, little things. So I want everybody to know the big picture. Should we pass this? Here's the pros and cons. Should we not pass this? Here's the pros and cons. So again, that's a little bit more different than maybe you're used to. Again, the thing with making life easier is, the question is, what does the council do? And my number one thing is, again, you're here to vote on policies for the city. You're here to vote on resolutions and laws, make those laws for the city. You're here to vote on a fiscally responsible budget, you know, which I prepare at your direction. So it's something that, you know, allows staff to work for you so that you can sit back and make the decisions. You shouldn't have to work so hard. You shouldn't have to spend hours here. Allow staff to work for you, and hopefully I can do that for a while. Again, the last thing then is obviously you're here to plan for the future. You know, where do you want the community to be 5, 10, 15 years from now? The decisions you make today can affect us long term. And again, it's necessary to think about that. The last thing I know that I had kind of threw out an email was to try and plan a planning session, you know, based on your schedule. I can sit down and we can look at dates, because the next Monday is a holiday. But again, something that, just having an informal discussion. And, you know, whether that's on a Monday or even a weekend, sit around and let's talk. Where do we want the city to be? What do you expect from me? What I expect from you? And I think that's something that, again, I'm here to serve. I'm here to listen to residents, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you. Okay. So now, Alan, do we do the consent agenda pull-out?
Pardon me. You have a couple of options, since your agenda obviously calls for city business next. So some cities will take care of the consent agenda just to keep it clean, and some will just throw it at the end after your regularly scheduled business. So I would
Okay.
say it's at your honor
Okay.
and pleasure.
Then let's move on to city business action items. We'll go in order here. Number one is discussion and possible approval of Resolution 2025-44, establishing a task force to evaluate the replacement of water mains. Ryan, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think Jen and I worked together a little bit on this to kind of establish a process for a task force. And I think this, I'm a little concerned about some of the contention I saw at the meeting. I think that this establishes some good parameters. It basically sets up 2 meetings. It sets up a Q&A process with the city engineer, and allows people, I think, to kind of get their questions answered in a very well-organized fashion. It places a limit, but I certainly think we would be able to, you know, if the task force goes well and we see good progress and we're getting good questions answered on the water main replacement process, and this is a benefit to the city, I certainly think that the task force could be, you know, extended, and I would support the council doing that. You know, the only thing I think is we don't have a list of names yet, so what do you
No.
think? So, who are we gonna pick, or are we gonna shoot this down entirely? I guess I think it's just one option for the council here, so.
All right. Okay, so do you have input, anybody?
I do think that we need to incorporate what we're looking for in task force members, so that that's documented and supports our decisions. 3 meetings, to me, seems a little slight, and we might make people unhappy about that. But to your point, if it's 3 and then they can extend, that might be okay.
I'm fine with extending. I want to make sure that I'm concerned with some of the rhetoric I've seen surrounding the water.
Totally
mains and-
agree.
And some of the personal attacks. And so, you know, that's my concern here is that, so.
Was there a deadline at all for any of the grants that we're applying for to have moving forward, anything like that, where we need to have a definitive end, I guess, to when we need an answer?
I don't know about that. Marcus was working on the grant portion of it.
If we can find out that, I think the task force is a wonderful idea. More cooks in the kitchen actually is a good thing to have happen with cities. So if there is a deadline that we need to meet, I would agree that we should try and have at least some direction at that point. I know that it is totally possible to apply for a grant, get a grant, and then if we don't have the additional fundings, we don't have to proceed.
Right.
That is something that can happen. So even if all of the steps happen and we find out, oh, we're 100,000 short, we can stop. Ideally, we just want to have a plan in place to replace these before we have to replace them.
Right.
So,
If we have to push it out a couple of years, that's fine too.
yeah.
What I like about, because like I said, Ryan and I went back and forth with how we would lay out a task force, but what I like about what we came up with is everybody would be dealing with the same facts, right? We're starting with a professional's opinion, not just whatever you would find on the internet to support your own opinion, right? So I liked that part of the plan.
Okay.
And then if everybody can start at that same baseline, and then go from there. That would be,
Do we have a packet available for the information regarding the facts of our city to share with said group yet?
well,
We're probably going to have to come up with that before we
I'm
start.
working on that.
Okay. Well, then, I suggest we ask for various candidates and what we were wanting for those candidates potentially, so that
Yeah.
we can set up a please apply.
Okay.
And then hopefully we'll have our packet ready for them to actually review when they
I
start.
mean,
You know,
I've been doing a lot of research.
I bet you have.
Okay, so what were some of the things that we would like to see in committee members? Does anybody want to throw ideas out? Then we can advertise via email,
Yeah.
via the website, via Facebook.
Yeah, one of the things that I think we benefit a lot from in Birchwood, like our planning commission, we have lots of people who are actually experts in that field, which I think helps in building a better result for how people are recommending what we do on the planning commission. So I think if we are aiming for individuals, I'm sure we have a lot of individuals here who are engineers or other. It would be really helpful to have at least a few who are.
Well, you don't want engineers.
We want this done in a few meetings, not in 2 years. No, just kidding, engineers. Okay, so maybe someone with professional background.
Yeah.
I think we would want a diversity of people. I think we would want newer residents who have been here for many years, possibly different parts of the city. And I think it will be really important that whoever signs up to this committee can look at information with an open mind and not with a predisposition to what he or she thinks the answer is.
Like critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other comments?
And then we might want to put together an application that reflects those things so that it's fair.
Okay. All right, I can work on that part of it. And Ryan, did you write up something about the task force yet, or no?
Just the resolution, I can, if you want, I can come up with a blurb that describes it, but the resolution kind of just describes the mechanics. Do you want me to put together something to
Well, I can,
discuss what we want what we want to get out of it?
yeah, because
Yeah, I
then
can-
we can copy what you've already written and then add that to it. Would that be okay? We'll just put that information out there so people know what they're getting into
Okay.
before they
I mean,
apply.
I-
Would that be all right? What would a good date to end the application process be, do you think?
Well, I would do it for the next city council meeting, if you want
By
to get
next city
appointments then,
council?
and then we'll push out the date of the resolution a month or something.
Okay,
I mean, if,
so that's June.
push out the end of the resolution to, what was it, the June 30th, July 30th? If we want to give people another meeting, we can do that too. I just,
Yeah,
a limit is necessary, that exact limit, isn't,
like maybe by the end of August, by the end of summer, we're done?
well, I think you
Or-
want to, if you're going to
Or
want to,
budgeting.
if you're looking into a plan here, you want to have results and a report from a task force within a fairly short period of time. And to me, this isn't a question that's going to take a long time to answer. This is just a cost-benefit analysis. And, the city people can do whatever research they want. They can ask our city engineer. And, it's, what is this going to cost versus what are we going to save and so on.
Okay.
And to me, those things are, once we get those things well documented, I think that can inform our decision-making process. But if we keep the scope very minimal and limited to water mains here, I don't see this as taking a long time.
Okay,
So,
so I'm just trying to get a timeline here. So if we have the applications in by June, do you think, or by the council meeting, we can vote on who's going to be on it
Yeah.
then?
Can we find out if there's a time frame for that grant, though?
I will do that.
Because if we can't get the grant, we have infinite amount of time.
Well, that's true. I do know that Marcus has already received a response from the first form we
Did
filled
he?
out.
Okay.
So it's in the queue.
The one that says that we may be applying for said grant one, right?
Correct.
Okay.
It's the MLPP, or I don't
Yeah,
even know.
The intent one?
That's the intent one we have received a response for. Okay, I'm just trying to get okay, if we approve the people in June, they can meet in June, 2 in July, and can we get a report like at the beginning of August?
You do it right before a council meeting, and then you'll have your report at a council meeting
Okay,
to,
for the August council.
yeah, for A1, I mean, August is, that's fine. That's what I would do, is
Yeah,
something, and then, hey, we got a great report. Let's give some more time to this and let them do a little more, so.
okay.
Then you're thinking 5 people based on the task force memo. It was 5, right?
That was what ChatGPT gave me,
Okay.
so.
Well,
I'm-
5's a good number.
Yeah.
I mean,
5 is fine.
I
I
agree.
would just let everybody who applies on it, but you guys pick and choose, whatever, I don't care.
okay, we'll see what kind of response we even get, so.
Okay.
So do we have to take any, you want to approve the resolution then?
Well, approve the resolution when you get you can approve it without the names, or you can wait and get the names and then stick them on the resolution.
Can we do that?
I don't think there's any need to approve it tonight.
Okay, good.
I would just wait.
Yeah,
Just
okay,
wait,
let's
yeah.
push that till next meeting then. Okay, great. Can we move on to number 2 then?
Oh, no.
Do we want to have Scott put on our email or email out to the city as far as accepting applications for the water main once we have our list of things that we're looking for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do all that. We just have to get this.
Let's get the
cleared
report
first.
and then, or you're part of it, and then we'll advertise, so.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a list of people who have volunteered to be on that committee.
Okay. Well, they can fill out an application, and then we can go through that process. Okay? Discussion and possible approval of request to repair hydrant at 1 Birchwood Street.
Where is 1 Birch Street?
1 Birch Street? Oh, sorry, my mistake. Birch is over there by,
Is that by Margaret?
yeah, that little street that goes.
That tiny one?
Yeah.
Birchwood Avenue?
No, Birch Street.
Birch Street.
Birch Street by Owl Street? I'm
No.
confused, I don't care,
Well,
it's
look
a
at
fire
look, you have
hydrant.
a map right here in your drawer. Take it out. There you go.
Yeah,
Here's Birch down over here.
Right here.
that's
Right here.
Birchwood, that's,
Up on top of Owl. It's the
yeah,
one that,
it's this
Oh,
one, it's
right
not
down.
that one, it's this one right here.
it's by Mary
Oh, I
Cahill's.
was thinking it was right over
That's
here.
Birchwood.
It's by
Lane.
Mary Cahill.
I
Where-
should take my map out.
Whatever.
Birch Street.
I mean, are those people's houses gonna burn down anyway? So,
So,
I think you better knock on wood right
yeah, that's not.
I'm gonna, that's sorry, that's probably not the best thing to say.
Okay, just so our audience knows, this is from John Manship, and he said, "The fire hydrant at 1 Birch Street needs to be rebuilt. The cost for repair is estimated to be $3,000 to $4,000. Parts take roughly 3 to 4 weeks to get."
Can we get how hard would it be to get a second quote on this? To get a quote, to get a couple bids?
An RFP for it?
I don't know if we need an RFP, but call up a fire,
Could you do that, Scott?
is that reasonable to do in this case, or is that something we,
Fire hydrants are usually something that there's limited places that fix them, so
does that seem like a reasonable cost to you?
the cost to replace one in total is probably 15,000.
Does
So
this
just to repair it is basically going through the gaskets and whatnot, probably not.
seems reasonable, okay.
Sure.
Then I'm fine.
How was the assessment made that the hydrant needs to be replaced?
Or repaired? I assume it has something to do with gaskets and leaking, but I haven't heard anything about leaking. Do we know?
Yeah, is there been any reports to the city? Like, I don't,
I'm just going off his memo.
okay.
I haven't had a chance, that was in the packet, I haven't had a chance to speak with him about it.
I personally feel very uncomfortable with this just because this is the first time hearing of it. And it's like, okay, now we have a broken hydrant. Like, like, what recourse, I guess, do we have? And he's not here, I guess, to speak to it.
Typically with fire hydrants, you try and exercise them, or the fire department will come out and exercise them once or twice a year. And my guess is they went to exercise it and either couldn't get it adjusted, or there was gaskets, whatever, that were keeping it from sealing. But again, without speaking with him, I don't want to speculate.
Can you find out, Scott?
Yeah, I can do that. It's fine to kick this to another month.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we kick it a month just to make sure, huh?
Wait, in the event there were a fire,
There's a
how
lake right there.
critical is the problem with this? Like, will there not be any water for this
Right.
house? I don't want to kick it for a month
Me
if that's
either.
the case.
So,
Either.
so going forward with things like this report that was given to the council seems very inadequate for us to make a decision. Just saying, hey, this is broke. There was no,
What happened, why? it's
Yeah.
broken. I would like to know more.
This is the open conversation we want.
Yes.
No.
Or for the person to be here to actually tell us what's going on, which
Yeah.
would be helpful.
Absolutely. This is one that, again, was in the packet, and I'm happy to, next month or in the future, get more information and
Sure.
provide that, so.
If when you find out more information about this, and it seems a more, like emergent situation, we can do a special council meeting and pass it. I just don't want to kick it out for a month if it needs to be done now. Do you know what I mean?
If there's an emergency, we'll take care of it and we'll address it next month.
Perfect.
But if not, again, we can just wait and address it next month.
Okay, thank you.
So no grants available for fire.
Oh, we should look that up. I'll put that on my list. No, yes, I got a list.
Where is our person coming to talk to us about that grant?
Mr. Opportunity. Scott, can you, like,
I will look that up.
this is, like, I'm just looking at this again, and this is just woefully inadequate, and I don't know if this is something that the city needs to put together as far as the information we need to make a decision like this, like a template, for this type of thing, and also, like, do we have, like, is the maintenance of the fire hydrants something that, the fire department takes care of, or do we have a maintenance schedule of our own for the fire hydrants?
I can answer a little bit of that.
Oh, perfect.
About a month ago, we had the signs all over Birchwood that
Yep,
said they were
yep.
going around and flushing. So this typically will come out after that, because it did happen when I was living in White Bear, where they had one that had to be rebuilt due to it did not fully shut off, so it was leaking. But I have not heard any report of this one.
Yeah,
which
so
is-
if White Bear Fire Department did this,
Typically, it's your Public Works Department that will go and flush.
Yeah, and we don't have one, so that's why the fire department came out and did our flushing.
okay, but so they wouldn't provide the city a report after that, if they're the ones doing
The
the
fire
flushing?
department did ours?
They said that, that's what the sign said, that's what I was reading,
Oh,
so.
no, I think John Manship.
Oh, did Mon?
I guess
John
my
Mann-
assumption
oh,
was
okay.
John was the one that was doing the flushing,
Oh,
but,
it could be him.
or I don't know, but I can get that information.
Yeah, I think John does it.
Okay.
And I think our contractors who have been with us for years and years and years, this is just sort of standard operating procedure, that they say, hey, this is what's needed, and then we do it. But I guess with a new council, we're saying, no, we need more information, we need to understand these things better. So maybe it's a communication to anybody who does work with us.
We need to really just start a basis of, like, record gathering. You know, I mean, just starting fresh. We need information, so 5 years from now, when someone says, well, when was that rebuilt? Well, we can go back and look, oh, it was rebuilt in this year, you know?
So,
just-
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't-
No, that's okay. Go ahead. I'm done.
I mean, like, looking at this and like, now I want to report on each hydrant and the condition of each hydrant. And going forward, like with something like this, if that did happen, like, or not that it did happen, but since the hydrants were flushed, like, I want to report on each hydrant on the status of it. I mean, is
Or
that?
maybe just an overall of like the hydrants are fine.
Yeah, or some sort of feedback to the council that, hey, this is the action that was happening, and here's the condition of our city assets.
You know,
I can touch on two things. I mean, one, a lot of cities, even small cities, are doing the GIS thing now even more, where, you're out there, you pinpoint, I'm at this hydrant, you have notes, and 5 years from now, when that person is gone, anybody else can pick up that
Yeah.
information and it's right there. I mean, technology has changed where it's in the palm of your hand and those notes are always there. So, you know, it may be something to look at, you know, some program, but absolutely something that, if you're looking for a change, there's opportunities. And again, that information is important. You're gonna wanna know, if a citizen asks a question, why was this replaced, or when was the last time that was replaced? When was the last time that was flushed?
Yeah.
You're supposed to exercise those, you know, every 6 months or every other year, whatever it is. You can show that it's actually done. So those are things that can be important.
I just think going forward, we need a good record, just so,
We're
like I said, 10 years from now, people will
Let me
know.
guess, we have no records of fire hydrant flushing.
I think we do, actually.
Okay, okay. Well, I'm glad to be wrong.
I mean,
We do have a lot of our plumbing is in one person's head, which is a problem. Because in the event he ever wants to go on a vacation, which I'm hoping is the only time that he's missing, but there is the potential that we would need that information when he's not available. So it would be really good to get a record of the materials and the lines and everything like that, instead of being shown up at another meeting. That was not fun.
Can we make that a requirement for the water superintendent to start tracking those things? And would that just be done by resolution, Scott?
It can be a policy. You don't need to do a resolution. That was part of my other thing, is you don't have to do resolutions for every little thing. I mean, this can be just a simple policy, and it's
Sure.
talking with the water superintendent, this is the expectations.
Sure.
As long as it's clearly explained to them, this is the expectation to do your job, this is something that we want, there it is.
I'm fine with policies. The only thing I would say with policies is put it on the policies page on the web page so it doesn't disappear, or somewhere where we have, this is all of our Birchwood policies. That's one of the reasons I try to be kind of verbose in agendas is, and then ideally it goes somewhere else. It doesn't just get lost. And it's, by the way, one of the things I'm a little worried about with Marcus's opinion on retaining walls is that's going to be a thing going forward. How do we make sure that doesn't get lost? So I'll stop my talk now because I think I'm way off topic.
So,
So for two, though, I would like to direct that we find out what is actually wrong with said fire hydrant, and then if it is an emergency, that we have an emergency meeting to potentially do that sooner, or put it to the next meeting with the information regarding what is actually wrong with said
If
thing.
it's an emergency, we'll get it fixed.
okay.
Yeah.
But either way, we'll discuss it at the next
Yeah.
meeting.
I mean, should we just authorize the city administrator to determine if it's an emergency, and if so, fix it immediately? Or do
Yes.
you guys
Yeah.
want to do
Yes.
that with a motion?
I'm fine with
That's
that.
fine.
Or just say that?
Well,
Well, you just said it.
I will move to have the city administrator determine whether the Birch Street fire hydrant is an emergency situation, and if he determines that it is, to authorize immediate repair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, number 3, discussion and possible approval of request to plant ground cover on the south side of City Hall. Scott, did you want to talk about that for a minute?
Huh?
Is it necessary?
Let's-
Number 3, city business,
Planting,
plant
I
ground
had
cover.
fireworks, so it's number 3.
that's number 4.
Sorry. A resolution wasn't needed, but obviously if the council wishes to support this, then
Okay,
I move
But
to,
how would we do it otherwise? What would be a better way, Scott?
again, when we get back to like simple business items, I want to approach the council and just have a request. And the request is, we'd like to do some plantings at City Hall. The reason why you don't, again, there's different levels. And the ordinance is your law, resolution's a little less formal, but you don't have to draft resolutions for every simple thing. It can be, yes, we support this. If you're going to donate public funds, then there may need to be a finding, but if it's simply Parks Board wants to do this, then absolutely.
And is it in the agenda then, so that people know that this is going to be talked about?
Sure. it's still
Oh,
on the
okay.
agenda.
Okay,
can we send out, Scott, could we send out that request for council action form to council members? It's just a form that's not, doesn't have all the administrative burden, that just you just put what you want and then it goes in the agenda. Is that easy to
that'd be
do,
great.
Scott? A lot easier than a resolution, right? It
And
doesn't-
again, it's a proposal. If
Yeah.
council wishes to change it, we can change it, but it's just, here's an idea. And again,
Yeah, let's
give us
try it.
feedback. If you like it and want to continue using it, we can do that. If you want to change it, we're not married to the format, but.
I'm kind of married to the format.
Well, let's
would
try
be.
it. Let's try it, I like that.
So the
So-
only question that I have is it came up, Therese was saying, well, we should use this for parking if we could. I mean, are we okay with?
I'm
doing some
fine with
plantings over
planting
there?
ground cover there. I'm fine.
I'm curious if we can actually do parking there anyway, because it would be on roots of trees, and also it's up against another property line.
Yeah. And the
So
grade of the land.
You wouldn't be able to fit 3 rows anyway, because the depth of the parking lot isn't, you wouldn't be able to back up
Right,
anywhere. So my preference would be to plant it with something, because right now it's just washing away.
totally agree. And we'll go to Rice Creek to see if we can get some money to do that. But we also need to know what the boundary is, for that side of the city hall.
Property.
Ellen, I don't know, were we able to find that out?
I've got it more or less on the map. I'm gonna blow that up.
Oh, great,
Get a better picture.
okay,
It's probably within 5 feet of what would be just visually the obvious edge.
okay,
So obviously, that's a pretty gnarly area.
yeah, so we'd need to clean it up.
Improve it.
All right,
I'm,
thank you.
Okay.
I move to authorize the planting of ground cover on city property on the south side of City Hall.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Number 4, discussion and possible approval of request to donate to the White Bear Fireworks Fund. Just a little bit about that. I don't know if Birchwood has done it every year,
We
but
do
it's
it
a
every
common
year, yeah.
practice
We
for
do
all
it
the
every
cities
year,
in the
yeah.
area that enjoy the fireworks to
For
donate.
as long as I've been here, they've been doing it.
Yes. So,
They hit up everybody.
right, and why not? We all enjoy it, so.
The water district even gets hit up for it, so, yeah, it's a pass the hat.
Is there, is there an amount in the,
It's 200 is what we
200, yeah.
donated.
let's just make a motion.
Go ahead. I can't-
I'll make a motion to donate to the, White Bear Fireworks Fund, the $200 donation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
And for perspective, your $200, when you watch and you see 2 things go up, those are your $200.
Yeah.
The guy who shoots those shows.
I assume one of these years they're gonna raise our prices, so.
Okay.
They might have some personal donuts.
Fireworks.
Number 5, approval of resolution 2025-42, discontinuing the use of blank gunfire at July 4th celebration.
This was a thing?
Who
There
wrote the
has been in the
resolution? I was
past.
curious.
I have some,
Did you?
what's that?
I was asking who wrote this, because,
Me,
was it you? Okay.
yeah,
So-
'cause every time I've gone to the parade, people are like, why do we have live gunfire?
We haven't had it in 5 years or more.
Oh, we had it 2 years ago.
And
With who? Because I was helping run that.
so Bridget, oh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. You were asking a question.
For the community club, we didn't officially invite anyone to shoot a gun, so,
Oh, well, then, I might be misremembering it, but I thought
Okay.
2 years ago we did.
no, it hasn't happened in the last 5 years, because
Excellent.
I was asking the various individuals, I'm like, does anyone know about this? Because I've never had it happen. So I was like, did we do this? And
We have in the past.
no one in the, on
Oh,
the
yeah,
committee is
we
like, we haven't in the last 5 years for
Right.
sure, since
Not
we
in a
took it
while.
over.
Okay, never mind.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I guess the city code on this just says, no person shall discharge or attempt to discharge any firearm in the city except exception 1, exception 2, and then exception 3, for the discharge of a blank cartridge pistol or rifle in connection with an event hosted by the city and by arrangement with the city. So there's a carve out there for this. And then if we wanted to, we could just direct staff to not arrange that with anybody. But I don't know, I don't have any problem with it or any strong opinion
I'd
either way.
take it
so-
out.
Are
Okay,
you looking at the ordinance?
I'm just looking at the ordinance,
So
yeah.
then let's change the ordinance
Yeah.
instead of doing the resolution.
Yeah,
We can change the ordinance too, if you want to make it a permanent fix. It's a good, simple ordinance change.
Just
So
a
it would be
straight
fun if anybody wants help with an ordinance change and you don't, Alan or Scott, I'm sure can help, I can help too, so. If you like to take that out, I can work with you on it, whatever.
Since you have administrative help.
Since you have, yep, have Scott do it, great.
Okay, do you want to make a
So-
motion? What page is this on?
We're not used to having, having such help.
I will get the change drafted and I'll bring that to the next meeting in June.
Good.
Hankins, what page was the resolution on? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble finding it.
I don't know. I'll look at it. I read it earlier. I don't know what it is.
Page 86. Oh, no, that's the
two.
fireworks. I'm still on the fireworks. Sorry, guys.
You just take a vote to direct us to just address that in the ordinance next month.
Right.
Yes.
As opposed to that resolution, that'd be fine.
Okay,
I don't know that you need a vote, just general
Or just
direction.
direct
let's
staff.
just do that.
It's easy enough.
Okay.
We can do that.
Great.
I can't
Six-
find it. I don't know.
For your reference, 609.020 is the section you can amend.
Okay.
Okay.
You can do that if you want.
Can we move on then? Number 6, approval of resolution 2025-43, adopting design standards for benches and public spaces.
Again, so what I'm recommending is that we follow the standard of the bench that's out there across the city. And the reason that I think that's important is because we've got different kinds of benches all over the place. We've got different benches up in the tennis court. And as we think about putting the 4 benches in for the Lake Links Trail, let's get them consistent. But maybe that can just be a vote rather than a resolution.
Do we have a way, just as a general matter on this, do we have a way for the Parks Board to bring things to the council? I wonder if we want to just think about how that works, because this is probably kind of from Parks.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking to Parks about, I talked to Parks about it and said that I would bring it forward. And if you read it, it's, yes, I'm recommending it based on Parks approval. Just from a timing standpoint, it was weird and would have taken too long.
I guess, why don't we just grant Bridget authority to determine bench types for the next year? So, would that be okay?
I'm okay with that.
I assume we have.
You want
We
it,
could goal those beyond a year.
Yeah,
And
right.
when you get
Or
to
for the
design
next-
standards, that's a little more deep, so that may be something that.
Yeah,
you
that's a
want
good
resolution.
point. Do we want to then adopt a resolution for that?
I mean, I'm totally fine with making them all pretty.
me too.
I mean, that one out there looks
They're
nice.
easy to clean.
Yep, they're high quality.
So should we just pass the resolution then? Just-
Totally should.
Just making sure we
Okay,
don't agree ourselves too long here, so.
All right,
with
okay,
ourselves
make
for
a
too long
motion.
Here, so, I did the last one, somebody
I'll
else do it.
make a motion to adopt design standards for benches in public spaces.
Second? Somebody?
Aye.
Bridget?
Second. Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Number 7, discussion regarding maintenance repairs to 725 Birchwood Avenue. Ryan? Mr. Isley? Ryan Isley?
Yep. So, this came to my attention, it looks like there was a sewer backup on Birchwood Avenue, and that White Bear Township had to be called in to vacuum out the manhole, jet the sewer line, and remove sawdust from the manhole. So I requested Scott do some research on this to kind of figure out what exactly happened here and why was there sawdust in the sewer system. Were you able to call John at all regarding this?
I spoke with him today, but I do not have a clear answer, so. I mean, I've got pictures, I've got some other information, but.
And so
And
just,
and you're right, this is a prime time that he should have been here to.
yeah. So that cost the city an additional $3,200 approximately to clean out this sawdust. And so I just kind of want to get to the bottom of who was responsible for putting debris into sewer. So, Scott, if you can get any information regarding that.
I have
then-
so many questions on this one.
I have, well,
I have questions that involve, one, why are we listening to it? Which sounds like the city ended up paying for something for it, because I was like, if this is a house issue, isn't that their sewage line that's a problem?
It's not if it's the,
But it's in the manhole.
it's in our, like,
It's,
The
not
cities.
theirs.
okay. I also was of the assumption, and I could be totally wrong because I'm not a plumber or know anything about sewage system. I always assumed that a sewage system was a closed pipe system and that it's not dumped into like a basin of some sort, because that seems like you would have an open sewer with that potentially could flood, et cetera, if there was a heavy rain.
Well,
So,
remember, storm sewer and sanitary sewer, two different things.
yes, so is this the storm sewer or, okay, this is the storm sewer that was filled with, okay, so we're not talking sanitary sewer. How did it back up into a house then? So I have so many questions regarding,
It didn't.
it didn't.
I can tell you about it. I didn't know this was going to be on the agenda tonight. But this all began like in March. And I got a phone call when I was on vacation from someone from White Bear Township, Public Works, saying that a resident had a sewer backup, not sewer, a drain backup into their house. It was a sewer backup.
Yes.
It was a sewer backup into their house, and they had called a plumber out to fix it. And when the plumber popped the manhole cover, they found like 9 huge contractor bags of sawdust in there, in the sewer.
Huh.
And they wanted to know what they should do about it.
And could they not fix it because of the bags that were in there? They had to take them out?
Why would you leave them there, Bridget?
I don't know, I'm just trying to,
I mean,
So many questions, right?
question. Right.
it just, and this is the message. You have technicians out
Ryan, you're off the,
on site,
no longer on the council.
725 Birchwood Ave for sewer line. While on site, they opened the manhole to check it, found garbage bags full of sawdust. A lady came up to them while they were working, and she told them she put them in the manhole to insulate her main water line. Technician took pictures, then,
So I guess we don't have to
I mean,
go through
Wait, so there was-
emails, but if those are emails that we got to the city or to anybody, if anybody on the council
To
regarding these,
me.
can we put together in a packet to try to figure out what's going on? Like an informational packet of like, hey, we need to get to the bottom of this issue.
well,
Let me get an answer from John, and we can present that at the next meeting or such.
Okay.
This implies that there's a person who said they put them there. So,
Somebody.
I really don't want to discuss it.
well, no, and I totally understand that whole portion, but as far as,
So I guess my intent
I
is,
really don't want to discuss this.
I just want to get all the facts laid out and available to the public, because we did spend $3,200 on jetting out a sewer that was full of sawdust that someone put in there. So I just basically want to do a fact finding. I don't know the proper, procedure that we're supposed to go through for something like this, but like anything that the city has that we can kind of piece together to figure out what's going on.
You just made the start, so we'll just keep it on the agenda and review
Okay.
it.
So,
Perfect.
but should there be a rule on the books that says, you can't, individual citizens shouldn't monkey with sewers or
There is.
fire
well, we do
hydrants?
have a no
Vandalism.
dumping. I mean,
Yeah, there's laws on the books against that.
Okay.
I mean, at a certain point, it's damage to property. At minimum. So,
And part of my intent was just to, like, this happened in the city, and I wanted to be in the agenda tonight, just so the citizens of Birchwood Village knew that this happened and that the city had to spend $3,200 to fix it. Great, that's all I had.
Anyway,
so this wasn't a request from the residents asking for reimbursement for anything that happened, and it's just the paying for the actual cleaning out. That's what this portion was. Okay. Okay.
Okay, moving on. Number 8 is second reading and possible approval of ordinance revising animal fee schedule and ordinance revising 605 animals in the city code.
So I can give an introduction, though. I think there was a lot of cruft in here and a lot of changes that were kind of made over the years that were out of date. It also relaxes the city's stance on chickens. There are two I don't know why that's so funny. There are two, it basically eliminates chicken permits and permission for chickens from your neighbors. So there are two ordinances here that are passed. One is an update to the fee schedule, and the other is an update to the animal section of the city code. Just so, and we erred a little bit in the last ordinance we passed, and I think we missed the public hearing. Alan, would you just walk us through the process in Birchwood of doing a second reading and tell us what the steps are, or help us make sure we get those right?
Sure. Quite simply, you just have first, second reading, so some cities will have an introduction before they even get to first reading, just to sort of tee it up and let everyone simply say, hey, good idea, bad idea, what should we start with? And say something like this, where you're talking about eliminating a couple of things that you're regulating, and frankly, eliminating a lot of the references that you don't need because state law already covers them. And so at first reading, typically you'd roll that out, and a lot of cities will have a public hearing so that people who are interested can come and say, hey, leave chickens in, right? Leave pigs in, leave whatever you want in. And so you would make those changes, or you would direct staff more appropriately to make changes, and then bring it back for second and what's usually final reading. And so that's in its fully fledged form, and then that's the one that's either published, or at that time we would actually have the resolution authorizing the summary publication, so you don't have to publish really long pieces of code, and we summarize it, and that gets published instead. So it can be a 2 to 3 month process, start to finish.
So in this case, this is a second reading, and so my understanding is we open a public hearing, close a public hearing by vote, and then
The public hearing is run by
the mayor.
the chief officer
Okay.
of the meeting. So
Yep.
I've gone round and round for years on this. She has the gavel, she has control.
Okay.
She opens the public
So-
hearing, she closes the public hearing, and that's that.
Okay, so I think then the process is Mayor Arsenault opens the public hearing on the fee schedule, closes it, we hold a vote, and then we open on animals code, close on animals code, and hold a vote. And since we don't have the summary publication, maybe we can just do that next month?
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty slow burning item, so
Yeah.
if you move forward with it, rather than publishing 4 pages of code, we can just publish a very
Okay.
simple summary that, it's already in Ryan's preamble anyway, explaining what we're doing. So we would just snippet that out and pass a resolution with that as the exhibit, saying this is what's gonna go in White Bear Press.
Sorry, I'm just trying to take it slow and make sure everybody kind of understands,
Yeah,
so.
that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
So I'm opening the public hearing on ordinance 605, correct? Is that what's the number, the correct number?
The ordinance, I don't know that, the ordinance,
assigned.
there's no ordinance assigned, so why don't you just say, I'm opening the public hearing on an ordinance amending the animal section of the fee schedule.
All right, I'm opening a public hearing on the ordinance revising the animal fee schedule. Would anybody like to speak on that? Okay, well, then I'm closing the public hearing.
Okay, so I can do it. I will move to adopt an ordinance amending the animal section of the fee schedule.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you, Ryan, for doing all that work.
Thank you.
For the chickens.
For the chickens.
So, Ryan, was there a second one that you said?
Then there's a second one, so that was just amending
The
the fee
fees,
schedule.
right.
And now this next one it's on page 23 in part 2 of the packet. It's
I'm having a
In-
hard time finding that.
an ordinance amending ordinance number 605, adopted on March 12th, 2019, entitled Animals.
Okay, hold on. I'd like to open a public hearing on an ordinance amending ordinance number 605, adopted on March 12th, 2019, entitled Animals. Would anybody like to speak on that? Jeez. You want to speak about it?
Does anybody have chickens
There are a handful, yeah, a handful. Oh, yeah.
And they were allowed, and now you're gonna say they can't have.
No,
Oh, no,
they-
you can have them.
they're still allowed. We're just making sure, nobody buys permits for them anyway, and so maybe one person did. So we're just
One person
basically, yeah.
Okay,
Basically letting people what they've done all along without chasing down their chickens. They get loose on Wildwood once in a while.
would anybody else like to speak?
At least you got one.
Yes. Okay, we'll close the public hearing, and could I get a motion for the second reading?
Do it so that I can,
Okay,
I move to adopt an ordinance amending ordinance number 605 adopted on March 12, 2019 entitled Animals.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, hearing none, motion passes.
And thank you again, Ryan, for your
Yeah,
good work on this.
That is a lot of work. All
You
right,
can see from this one, for example, 7 pages, we can distill down into something a lot more digestible to encompass what you guys just did.
perfect.
We'll do that next month.
Okay, number 9 is the treasurer's report and expenditures that we're pulling out from the consent agenda. So,
Yeah, I have to find it here. I was just wondering, it's not, it looks like it was probably scanned, which is fine, but there were just 2 reimbursements to Barton for the hockey nets.
I can answer that one.
Go ahead, that's the
Okay,
only
so
thing.
there was one that was 400 something.
Yep,
That one was voided because the amount was half of that, not the total. So
Yep.
they voided that and then issued the correction for the 2 something.
that's
So, and then
my-
there is a void if you search hockey.
Okay,
The void does show later.
that's my only question. If
I asked
anybody
that
else-
one too.
Okay, if anybody else has questions, go ahead, otherwise I'm fine with it, so.
I think there's still a net down in front of the building.
Not,
the 2 good ones are inside. I'm not sure about that one that's outside.
Sort of a lead.
Yeah.
Yep, that one is just sitting out for people to use for, what is it, field, no,
Lacrosse.
no, it's a hockey size, the street hockey, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Roomba.
Exactly.
Yes.
And another
Focus, focus,
example
focus.
too, especially because our treasurer's not always at meetings, if council goes through and has questions, shoot me an email. I can get an answer, I can send it out to all the council.
That's a
but,
great idea.
Yes. Certain things we may not have that answer, so you don't have to wait a month. Just, again, create some efficiency and such.
That'd be great.
Okay,
Just starting to do it here.
any other questions?
Yeah, I had a couple questions.
Okay.
One, I saw that we have a capital projects that's negative $13,000.
Yes.
So,
That is because we've not received our distribution for the year.
okay.
You get your first distribution in May. So that was why we had that discussion with Marcia last week ago, 2 weeks ago.
is that because we haven't transferred money to the streets? That is essentially because we transfer money, or I thought that went negative when we took our streets money out last year.
It may have been, she had a reason for it, but again, it goes back to kind of the distribution timing more than anything. It's not like there's no money in the bank, it just looks like it's in the negative until you get that to reimburse it.
It was based on when the report was pulled, I assume.
Correct.
The debits are equal to the credits.
I'm still working on that, actually, because according to what's in CTAS, which is the computerized accounting program that we use at the city, this capital improvement fund was started on July 1st of 2017. I can't, and Marcia couldn't find anything prior to that. That doesn't mean there isn't anything there, but someone else is gonna come in and help me look through some of this stuff this week so we can see what more of the history is.
So, Jen, we had, when Mary Cahill was
Yes, she's
Or,
gonna help me.
oh, is she gonna come and
Yeah.
help you? Okay, so we discussed that last year. I think it was, did we hire Marcia last year or the year
Yes.
before? Okay, so when we were hiring her, we were going through all of those things. We were missing records for a lot. They discovered that the CTAS system, there was some sort of accounting-ish error that would happen that was significantly off. So as they were going through all of that, they had found like an accounting error that was going on that was long-term from the beginning of that account. So she should be able to hopefully help you a little bit on that one, but they discussed it last year. I don't remember which meeting or anything like that, but it
Just,
came up.
You know, I'm just trying to find like a history so we can kind of see
Yeah.
what's going on and what has been done. And
They did at least balance the budget
Yes.
when we did that,
yes,
so it did help.
but anyway, I have, so that fund in 17 started with $68,203.91. And then Marcia printed off all the receipts and disbursements. And that's what the balance is. You want to look at it? So I have had her look into it. Still a work in progress, still trying to get a good base of history of what's, so we know what capital projects have been done.
Would it help council members just to have somebody come in and explain how to read the CTOS reports at some point? Like, just have Marcia come in and say, hey, this is how, if, I don't necessarily need that, but I guess it seems to me like something that might be good, people might appreciate.
I mean, if you guys are interested, I've been working with her often.
Part of the thing about having, like I said, the kind of the work session, visioning and all that
Yeah, or
is,
maybe
again, even
probably
just getting back to
explain it
basics
too.
of,
Yeah,
not just that, but better reports, better things that are more clear that everybody understands. Again, when you had, 13 attachments in the treasurer's report,
It's a
that could be
little
condensed
voluminous.
into maybe 5 pages,
Yeah, that'd be nice.
so.
we were worried at one point that there had not been an audit in a long time, and that the books had not been balanced for a long time, and so it seemed like a lot of oversight was in order, and I think we've done maybe well enough for long enough that we can kind of condense that down a little bit.
And that is something I had suggested too, or we'll talk about at a future meeting. Again, it's a starting point. You have a new council, you have a new administrator, you have a treasurer that's been on just 2 years, less than a year. It's a safety net. It just shows, here's point zero, and let's move from there.
All right. If there are no other questions, could I get a motion to approve
Do we have any announcements or the upcoming event? We have that May 31st.
Okay, but we're still approving the treasurer's
sorry.
report, sorry.
I was skipping.
Yes, I need a motion to approve the April 2025 treasurer's report. Can someone give a
That's-
motion?
I can do it.
So moved.
Okay, Bridget, second?
Second.
Isley, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, city council updates. 30 seconds, go.
So we have a Ty Schmidt planning session, open house, walking through Ty Schmidt on May 31st, 10 a.m. to noon, to walk through the land, water improvements and improvements for Ty Schmidt Park with the Watershed District and the Parks Department,
Awesome.
Parks Group.
Awesome.
I'll pass.
Pass. You worked on the ordinances, that's what you've been working on.
Sure, I did something.
And the website.
Yeah, we worked on the website a little bit,
There
didn't
you
we?
go. Way to help each other out. I've been working with Marcus quite a bit on just pulling together data about grants, about capital improvement projects, just to see what all our options are out there. Also been trying to pull together some history, so we know where we're going. Yes. Done.
So the other day during Birchwood cleanup days, Hankins and I sat down and worked on the website and spent a couple hours trying to revamp it. I think I will pat both of us on the back because I think it looks pretty good. I think there's still some improvements to be made, but thank you again, Hankins, for sitting down with me and letting me boss you around for a couple hours. And then just a quick website update. Month of April, we had 2,600 views and 614 visitors to the Birchwood website.
I knew that reload button worked.
Yeah.
Perfect. And Bridget?
I've been working to make the bulletin board out there more interesting, working on our city Facebook page again, incorporating some of the stuff that we're posting. And then hopefully making that little stair out there safer with lights.
Yes.
Thanks
Looks
for the
good,
tape
looks
on
very
it, though.
good.
Yeah, looks great. Any announcements aside from Teig Schmitz at what, May 31st?
Yeah, May 31st, 10 to noon.
Right? Anything else aside from that?
How are we publicizing that?
I think we're going to have that put on the emailed out.
Every,
No,
Email,
typical
Facebook,
stuff.
page.
Yeah.
on our normal things.
Scott, do you have any announcements?
Do you guys want to plan a work session?
I do. I really do. Get your phones, people. Let's see what we got going on.
Yep, open.
I love work
Not-
sessions.
I'm jealous of that.
When are you thinking, Scott? When are you available?
I mean, I know you had talked about that Monday, the 26th is obviously a holiday, that Tuesday, the 27th could be an option. Again, I just kind of threw out Saturday as an informal whatever, but
So I can-
Doesn't matter to me.
again, I don't know what people's schedules are, so I'm kind of open.
And I'm so sorry, I'm taking 3 weeks, family vacation and a personal vacation, so I am gone from,
No, don't say it. Don't.
right,
Don't tell us when you're gone.
That's okay. Just
yeah, May 21st to.
No. I
No.
said don't say that.
Oh, that's right, I shouldn't. Okay, thank you.
Kathy, what does your schedule look like?
I can't do the 27th. What were the other days you wanted to do?
That was kind of all I threw out,
Oh.
so, I mean, Monday, June 2nd?
Good with that?
Well, that's, yeah, that could work.
It's sometime late afternoon, evening.
It'd have to be evening. I have to come back to the city. I could make the 2nd work.
What time, Kathy?
No earlier than 6.
6:15 to give you a few minutes?
6:30? What do you want?
6:30?
6:30 might be better. It means I don't have to speed.
Is that okay
Well,
with you,
do you have time
Ryan?
to eat dinner?
I don't eat dinner.
Okay.
On the nights that I have city council, I'm here.
Okay, 6:30 on,
June 2nd.
you're good with that, Scott, too?
Yep.
All right. Awesome. Anything else? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're in adjournment.
Do we need to sign?
you,
are we still
everyone.
signing this?